Yes. Yes.
Okay, so good evening once again, everyone. It's a pleasure to come to you once again. I guess last week we were able to get so many things from the class, and today I want us to continue. So today I guess we will not be taking that too much time, and it will also be an opportunity for people to ask questions. If you have a question that you want to ask as to how you go about the structural equation modeling, particularly the partial least squares structural equation modeling, you have that opportunity to ask the questions. And then I'll also take you through some articles so that we get to know how these things that we are learning are applied when you want to write a journal paper, a journal article. Because at the end of the day, the most important thing is for you to apply this knowledge to a research study or to a study where you produce a journal article, a research article. That's the reason why I guess we are all here. Okay, so I want to take you briefly. This is just a brief something. Then we come back straight to the analysis so that we don't waste too much time. So last week, I mentioned that if you want to use the PLS for your work, just like any other research method, you have to go through all the processes. First, you need to state your research objective. And if it is possible, if you can state the hypothesis as well, that would also be great. But I always prefer that you state your hypothesis after you have had enough evidence, literature, to support the hypothesis that you are claiming to investigate. Other than that, you make a claim and then it will be like something that you don't have anything to support, and it's going to be some way when you finish running your PLS and you want to compare the results with existing studies. Yeah, because normally we undertake these studies to either prove or disprove what has already been done in the previous studies. Okay, good. So you always need to state your research objective or aim. Then you just do a bit of literature review. Then you also come up with your hypothesis, which normally has something to do with your either conceptual or theoretical framework. Then you need to also come up with, especially if you are using a questionnaire. But what I want to say today, I think last week I didn't emphasize on that. If you are using another form of data set, it's not always going to be a questionnaire. Let's say you have already secondary data and you want to use this for this, you can still use it for this kind of analysis. It's not only questionnaire data that we use for PLS or structural equation modeling. You can use secondary data if you have access to them. So you can use that, but always there are two things that you need to do. And the two things are that you need to assess your measurement model. And the measurement model has a way of helping you to assess the relationship between the indicators and the constructs, which are normally called the latent variables. The latent variables in simple finance economics terms is what we normally call the determinants. It could be the determinants or the variables. And the variables, as we know them from finance, could be independent variables or dependent variables. So once you get to know these latent variables, you have to also help us to know which indicators represent these latent variables. So if you take something like, for example, if you take something like socioeconomic status as your latent variable, there are so many things that come together to define this socioeconomic status. You can look at somebody's age, somebody's income, somebody's education, somebody's location, geographical background, and so forth. They all come together to form socioeconomic status. So that, if you want to measure the relationship between these things that come together to form the socioeconomic status and the socioeconomic status itself, which is the latent variable, you have to conduct your measurement model. And then we have the structural model. The structural model help you to look at the relationships between the latent variables, the different latent variables, which we normally call the variables or determinants. So either independent variables or dependent variables, the relationship between them. We'll see them very soon. In the assessment of your measurement model, there are things that you need to report. You don't have to report all of them in your journal article, but normally these are what many studies so far that I have already report. You have to report the indicator reliability, the internal consistency reliability, the convergent validity, and then discriminant validity. Last week, I took you through all these things, so I will not really waste too much time. We will visit them again when we run them and then we get the results. Then with the structural models, so there are certain things that you need to also check. You need to check your multicollinearity. You need to check the significance of the size, the adjusted R-square, the R-square, the effect size, the predictive relevance, and then also you have to check how the predictive capacity or power of the model. So we'll check all of that. So now let's go straight to running the structural equation modeling. Yeah, so this is where maybe some of you, if you have already downloaded your listing, you can follow me and you do the same at where you are. So just take your laptops and then also pull your data, and then let's start doing some analysis. So let's all do it together so that as we are doing it, if you have any question, you can ask me, and then I will come in and explain. Okay. So you just search, okay, in my case, I have the SEM-PLS installed on my machine. If in case you have not done so, I think you can do it now. It doesn't really take much time to get this thing done. Okay, good. So as you can see on the screen, so normally you see this new project, especially if you are doing something new. And one good thing about the new PLS software, which is the updated version, is that they have they have different models in there. They have the CB, which is covariance-based structural equation modeling, which I talked about or I explained last week. And then they have the GSCA, they have the process, they have a normal regression, any regression panel or any other form of regression that you want to run. So it has other models in there, but here our focus is the PLSM. So I will not waste too much time going into that. So let's assume that you want to do this, and this is a new project that you want to run. So let's assume the name of your group is what? CEBS group. So let's assume this is a new project that we want to undertake. You can name it anywhere. If you are undertaking a PhD, you can name this as a PhD project. Ecological analysis. Please, what do you mean by ecological analysis? Can you give me a little bit of... You can unmute yourself and talk.
Yeah, hello. I'm Mohamed Kalon.
Yes, I hear from you.
Yeah, okay. So what I'm trying to say, this SEM-PLS for generation software, can I use it to analyze, for example, microbial organisms from the soil or any other ecological or environmental data?
Yes, you can do that, but we need to know what are you looking for.
Well,
Okay,
so
yeah.
to start with, my analysis is on soil mesofauna, that is columbola, that there are 12 organisms.
Okay.
So I'm using my data presently is on that. That is to see the seasonal variation, the abundance, the diversity, the mean abundance by using the two to
Okay.
it's my results and everything. So initially I'm using R Studio Review Analysis, but
R Studio, okay. Yeah.
I'm kind of having complication in using the R Studio because of the code and all. So I'm thinking for another alternative software. In as much as I'm seeing the interface of this PLS, it's kind of a bit simple to understand and all.
Yeah, very
So
simple to understand. Yeah.
yeah, so I want to know if this software can do similar analysis.
Yes, I think you can, but at as I asked previously, what are you trying to do? Are you trying to look at the relationships between the variables within the ecological factors, or because what you are looking for, what you are trying to analyze will determine whether the PLS is suitable or not.
Yeah,
Because
well,
okay, yeah, go ahead.
okay. According to my hypothesis, um, um, I'm hypothesizing that the density and the abundance of the columbola will change within season. That is thinking of the lower season as compared to the higher season, as the amount between the autumn and the summer. So I'm looking at 4 different months in 4 different seasons. So I'm looking at the density and abundance of the columbola. So in the grassland, and of course there are different grazing management that I'm looking at. That is to say, how high or less is the disturbance of the grazing management that affects the
Yes.
columbola. So I'm looking at abundance, I'm looking at density, and of course I'm looking at bioma. So I don't know. And of course I'll be looking at
I guess, yeah, I think you can. So what I would suggest, which I think I will be happy to assist, is that once we are done, you can send me like maybe if the proposal or introduction or something for me to read to get to know what actually you are really looking at. I think I can help. And looking at the factors and the issues that you are looking at, I guess the PLS will be suitable for that.
okay, that will be fine. I will talk with my boss, small team,
Yes.
Fred, and of course with you so that I can see how we can do this communication. That's all.
Yes, yes,
Yeah.
yes, yes, yes. I'll be glad to assist. I'll be
Okay, thank
happy
you.
and I'm available to help. Yeah, you are welcome. Yes. So yeah, it's possible. So you get in touch. I will share my email address in the chat box once we are done with the work. And so that if you want to send anything to me, you can send it to me. Okay, thank you. So let's come back to this. So what you have to do is that you can create a group. So if you are undertaking a PhD, you can just title this new project as maybe PhD thesis or whatever you want to. And then you click on create. And then when you click on create, you can see the name of the group, which is kind of a folder that you have created. Then you have to import your data set. And what I sent to you last week, you have to just come to where I don't know where you have saved it, but when you click on import data file, and then you open your document or your folder, which is on your laptop or machine, you have to try as much as possible to locate where you have saved the data. So here, this is where I have saved mine. So I'll click on it. Then once you click on it and you click open, the thing will just upload. Okay. But here I want to help you with something. Okay. So as you can see from here, all the data sets I have uploaded here. But there are scales. And when I say scales, normally we have 4 main scales, and I guess some of you know them already in statistics, in data analysis. The scales are, we have the nominal, we have the ordinal, and then we also have the interval and the ratio scales. There are 4. But normally the ratio and then the interval scales, they are normally termed as metric. Okay. And then we have the ordinal. And then we have the categorical. Categorical tend to be the nominal. The ordinal tend to be the ranking, like Likert scale and all that. So when you are having different set of data, maybe you have a data set where some of them are about age, or some of them are about something different. You need to help us to know the scale that is used to measure that kind of variable. Okay, so as you can see here, each of them. So here, if I want to change the first one to ordinal, I can change that. If I want to change the second one to, let's say, categorical, I can change that. This is to help us to know that your data set is either ordinal or categorical or metric. So once again, I think these are some of the things that I guess you know them, like the kind of measurement scales that we have in statistics. We have the nominal scale, we have the ordinal scale, we have the interval scale, and then we have the ratio scale. There are four, but normally the ratio and then the interval are normally also termed as the metric. Okay. So here, I'm going to just leave them as metric throughout because even though the data set I'm using in this study, they are all ordinal, but I'm just going to leave them metric. It will not actually change anything anyway because they are all the same data set. But in a situation where some of your data sets are different, the measurement skills are different, you need to cater for that. That's why I decided to just pause here and show you this. Because when you are running your work, it's possible that maybe some of them are about age, some of them about gender, especially when you are going to control for some of the, you have control variables. Some of them may be gender, some of them may be age, some of them could be anything like your job position and all that. So in that case, you can, or you have to account for that and change the scale. Okay, good. But in this context, per the data set I've sent to you, they are all from Likert. So I can decide to choose any of the scales, especially with ordinal and metric, and I'm going to get the same results. Okay, then another thing to do is also here, the missing value marker. So in case maybe any of your values are missing, but normally you put 0 because none of my values is missing. Because if your value is missing, it will show here. Missing means, for example, let's assume that these variables, which I have termed them as POF, let's assume that instead of each of them being 100, because if you look at the original data set I sent to you, the number of observations are 100, like 100 respondents. Okay, so if in case instead of 100 respondents, and then maybe some of them are missing, they are not up to 100, but this variable is, let's say, 99 or 98 or 55 or something, it will show. But in this context, it seems like they are all on the same level, so none of them is missing. Then also, if you also want to change the metric in terms of the country where you find yourself, do you want to go with the US or the European metric and all that? It depends. So please check all these things. But other than that, you can just run the basic one. This is where these changes will come in when you are having data sets which are coming from different sources. And also they have different measurement scales. You have to cater for all these things. Other than that, when you are running for the data, you may have challenges. But in my case, this is a simple data set I've sent to you. I just use questionnaire to collect all of them, and none of them is missing. I got all of 100 observations for each of the variables, so everything is okay here. Okay, good. So once everything is okay, you just click on import. And I have imported my data set into the SEM-PLS. Okay, good. Now what next? The next thing is now I have to come up with the creation of my model. Okay, so in the creation of your model, you come to where you have saved or you have created your folder, and then you see create a model will come. In the creation of the model, it will ask you which of the softwares or which of the methodologies do you want to use to analyze your data set. And as you can see from the top, we have PLS, CB, SEM, and all that. So choose the one that you think is appropriate for your data set. that you want to use for your analysis. But in this context, we are using PLS. So there's no need. Then you just give it a name. Okay, so this kind of analysis, you want to just look at, I would say basic. I'll just use basic analysis because we'll do other forms of analysis by looking at mediation and moderation or moderating effect and all that. So I'm just terming this model as just basic analysis. When you click on OK, this space will be opened for you. The next thing is to feed this space with your model. So I want to take you back to what I showed to you the other time, where I told you to specify your model, or you have to come up with the model. So this is what I came up with last week when we met. I said that we are trying to look at these variables or determinants, their impact on the performance of small-scale businesses. So organizational factors, political factors, economic factors, social factors, technological factors, ecological factors, legal factors. What are their impact on the performance of small-scale business? And we have hypothesized, or have just hypothesized, that they are all going to have positive impact. But let's see whether the analysis will help me to confirm this, or it's going to be something different. So you bring the same thing that you see here to the PLSN. So how many exogenous? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. The endo is, which is the determinant variable, and these are the independent. So you do the same thing here. So my first one is the political factors. So the ones I've termed as POF are the political. So you just highlight the 3, and then you drag and you bring it here. When you bring it here, it will just ask you to name the factors, and then you just click on enter. When you click on enter, you see this. So I have all my political factors within this space. I'm feeding the space. The next one is economic factors, which I have termed them as ECC. So you just highlight the ECC, or the ECC therefore. I just bring the ECC somewhere here, and I give it a name, political factors. And I'll just click on enter. Okay, for the sake of the space, I want to just minimize it a bit so if you want to minimize, come down on your right-hand side, extreme right-hand side, you see that there's a way to either increase or decrease. Okay, great. Now, the next factor based on the model is that I want to add social factors. So the social factors, I've termed them as SAL. So there are 3. There are 3 indicators measuring the social factors. I just put social factors. Then the model I specify also says I should also add technological factors. So technology I've termed them as TEH. So please, you have to give them some code or some names, serial numbers or serial names. It's up to you. It's not supposed to be one way. You have to just give it that. So technological factors, 4 indicators are measuring that based on my data collection. The next one, based on the model I specified, was that I need to add ecological factors. And then the ecological factors, according to my data set, I have 1, 2, 3, 4. 4 variables are also measuring ecological factors. Then I have another variable. I'll have another thing that's legal. So far I've not catered for legal factors, organizational factors, and then the dependent variable itself, which is the performance. So let me look at legal factors. So legal factors, I coded them as LLF. LLF. So they are three. You just highlight them and drag. Can maybe drag it somewhere here for the sake of. Okay, good. And then the last one that I have not catered for, which is also one of the independent variables, organizational factors. So organizational factors too, I've termed them as OGL. So OGL, they are 4. Let me put this somewhere here. Factors. Okay, good. So now I have all my independent variables. The last thing to cater for is my dependent variable, which is a performance success. So I also use SBP. So I represented by okay, good. So now once you have all these things, you can direct, or you can just work around directing where the indicators are showing. Okay, so political factors, there are three indicators which are measuring political factors. Economic are 4, social 3, technological factors 4, ecological 4, legal 3, and all that. So I can decide to direct them. If you want to direct, you just click on this, and then you see the indicators on your right-hand side, this side. So if you click on this, it will just go to that side. If I want them to come down, if you click, it will come down this side, that side, to the direction that you want it to be. Okay, but I want them to just go somewhere at the back, showing left-hand side. Yeah. You click on this. Click on this. And here. Okay, now the next thing to do, the next major thing to do, as you can see, they are red, right? So let's assume we want to run, whether it will work. It will not work. Why? Because we have not shown your current path model is invalid. Please take a look at the red model elements. We have not shown the path, the direction where they are going to. So once again, we go and look at the model. We are saying that these variables, they have impact. So they are going to this direction. They are going to where the performance is. Therefore, we have to link them. So the link, you click on connection. You see a link here, connection or connect. So when you click on connect and you put it on, let's say organizational factors, and you drag it to the destiny to connect. Then you do the same thing. You do the same thing. So first you have to click on connect, other than that it won't work. Yeah. So you can see that all the variables now are what? Red. Once they are all red, sorry, they are all blue. Once they are all blue, that means all the latent variables have been connected to to each other, or the independent variables have been connected to the dependent variable. Okay, good. So now we have our model set. Now we can run for the analysis. So to run for the analysis, you click on calculate. Calculate, you see calculate. And when you click on calculate, just select the first one, PLSM algorithm. When you click on that, here there are options. So this is where last week I was explaining to you that within the PLSM, you can run factor analysis. You can, and this factor analysis is a confirmatory factor analysis. And you can also run the PCA. PCA is exploratory factor analysis, principal component analysis. But here we want to write a path analysis. Okay, good. So you can just leave it as it is as a default because normally these things have already been set within the algorithm or within the software and you don't have to touch them. Okay, so you click on calculate and then when you click on calculate, you see the results. You can see the results here. And this is what I think many of you have seen in research papers. You see some of these things and sometimes you are confused. What is this?
Yes,
It's
yes.
not. Yeah, it's not.
They're confused about how these things come about.
It's not in this. It's a simple. It's a very simple. So this is how it is done. Okay. Now that this is done, this is a very beautiful resource, which I think everybody is happy with it. So it looks so nice. But you are not done because you need to check some things to see whether this result that we have is okay or is not okay. That will take us back to what I explained to you last week. That anytime you want to run your PLSM, there are two things that you need to look at. And that is the measurement model and the structural model. What we have just used the PLSM algorithm to run is just for the measurement model. We will run the structural model very soon. It's a measurement model. And in looking at the measurement model, there are certain things that we have to look at, as I explained to you last week. One, we should check whether the indicator reliability are okay. So as for the results, yes, perfect. You can present this. There's nothing wrong. I think it's okay. Anyone who will see this will be happy. But anybody who is so good in SEM, structural equation modeling, or very good in this area, will love to see whether you have checked these things and whether these things have been met or not. Because that will make your model, your results valid. Or in other contexts, I would say that will also make your results reliable and valid. Okay, so let's quickly check them. So the first thing is the indicator reliability. According to what we discussed last week, your indicator reliability should be at least 0.7 and above. And this indicator reliability is just talking about these figures that you see here. So the figures that you see between the blue circle and then the yellow boxes, that's what we call the indicator variable. Other books, or in most cases, when you are running PCA and even sometimes regression and other models, they are also called the factor loadings. So when you see the word factor loadings, they are the same, factor loadings. Okay, so according to the established threshold, it should be 0.7 and above. 0.7. The question that somebody will ask is, does it mean if I get something less than 0.7, it will not be accepted? I would say it will be accepted, but I will encourage you to always go by what has been established in literature. That will save you a lot when you are presenting your work or you are submitting your paper to a journal. To save you a lot. Because sometimes when you submit a paper and then let's assume that you get an indicator variable, which is let's say 0.6 or 0.5, some of the reviewers tend to ask so many questions. So many questions. And some of them, especially those who are so good in this area, they will tend to think that, or they tend to say that your paper is not good enough, or your results is not good enough, your model is not good enough. So I will encourage you to always go by what is established in literature. That will save you a lot of time and a lot of questions. I know that there are studies where people or some researchers get something like 0.5, 0.4, and they still keep them, the indicator variables or the factor loadings. But I will encourage you to go for the ones which are 0.7 and above. So let's check. Let's quickly go through. And all the ones which are not 0.7 and above, we have to take them out. So let's begin with organizational factors. You see organizational factors, they are all okay. Everything is okay. All the factors are 0.7 and above. We are safe. Let's come to the political factors. You see one of the factors is not. So we have to remove it. And yes, this is where you have to drop some of the variables. Yes, this is where you have to drop some of the variables. And it's accepted that you drop some of the variables. Because if you don't drop them, they will have impact on other things in the work. Okay, so I'm going to, okay, but before I'll drop this, I want to show the other indicators. I mean, let's keep this. I'll come back to drop them, but let's keep on looking at other indicators and see. Then internal consistency reliability should be 0.7. The convergent validity should be 0.5. And then discriminant validity should be 0.85 if you are using ATMT. Okay, so where do we see these results? So let's start with the, okay, already we know the, okay, so this is what I showed to you. Actually, if you want to look it from the matrix or from the Excel sheet point of view, can you see my screen or it's too small?
Yes, we can. Yeah.
Good. So this is exactly what has been reported. Like this is what you can see from here, the indicator variables in the PLS. If I go back, yeah, these ones. Okay, good. So
from where can we get them?
when you click on after running it, okay, so let's run it again, just a minute. So let's
Please.
You run and you get this results on your left hand side. Can you see on your left hand side?
Yeah.
You see final results.
Yes.
Click on outer loadings.
Mm-hmm.
When you click on outer loading, just click on the matrix.
Mm-hmm.
When you click on it, it will open this for you on your right hand side. And you can copy this to your Excel. So let me copy this. I'm going to put it in Excel. So this helps. This will help you to make your work easy when you are using this for your data analysis. Okay, so can you see that? Good.
Yes.
So what we can see is that the ones which are highlighted red, that means they don't meet the threshold, the recommended threshold, because the software, they have put the threshold I shared with you in the PPT already in there. They have already put it there. So any figure, any indicator variable that does not meet the threshold, it will be highlighted red. So that means these highlighted red should be taken out. We should take them out of our analysis. So this should be we should take this one out. Take this one out. Should take this one out under the political factors. I have to also take this one out. Then when it comes to this, so you have to take them out. Is that okay? Good.
Mm-hmm.
Any question on this? I think we are good to go. Great. So if you also want to look at other things too, you can also look at the next thing that we discussed last week, which has to do with the internal consistency reliability, and then the discriminant validity and the convergent validity. Where do you see that? So you click on construct under the quality criteria, you will see construct reliability and validity. Click on that, and then just click on the overview. It will just give you this overview of all the variables. And once again, if your variable does not report to meet the required threshold as it has been established in the literature, it will be highlighted red. So for example, if you take the economic factors, The internal consistency is not good. The ecological factors, the internal consistency is not good. It should be 0.7 and above, is 0.54. Political factors too, the same. And technological factors, the same. One of the reasons why we are seeing this is that some of the indicator variables within these, which are explaining these latent variables, have issues, which I've already highlighted that we have to take them out. That's how come they are having that. When we take them out, they will tend to be green. I'm sure of that. Technological factors to the same. Okay, good. Then the composite reliability and the AVC, which is the average variance explained, that should, as we established last week, should be 0.5. 0.5 measured at minimum of 0.5 and above. So if it's not up to 0.5 and above, it will also be highlighted. So once again, you can see economic factors have been highlighted red, and then the technological factors have also been highlighted red. Oh, good. Now let's come
the third
to
one.
Yeah,
The third criteria is about the average variance extraction.
Yes, the third
criteria.
The set criteria is a minimum of 0.5. That means at least 0.5 or more.
Assessing the convergent validity.
Yes.
Yeah, it's convergent validity, yeah.
Yes, yes, assessing the convergent validity. Yes, that's the one.
So is average variance.
Yes, that's the average variance extracted or explained, as we call them in the PCA. Yeah, but as I mentioned, the software will do all these things for you. You don't really have to worry your head about it. And the software will also go ahead to highlight the ones that don't meet the threshold. So all the ones that don't meet the threshold, they are highlighted red. So all the green, it means all the green, the ones highlighted green, they have met the threshold. They are 0.5 and above if you take the AVE. And there are reasons why some of them are red, as I mentioned, is because the indicator variables, as we saw from the outer loadings, some of them, they have issues. There are problems. We have to take them out because they didn't meet the 0.7 and above threshold. Once we take them out, the AVE and all that which have been highlighted red, they will change. Okay, now let's come to the discriminant validity, which is also another thing that we discussed, or I discussed with you last week. I told you that with the discriminant validity, there are 3 models that can be used to measure them. You can use any of them to measure, to determine the discriminant validity. But currently, the one that a lot of people are using, or the one that is more of currently, is the ATMT, the heterotrait monotrait ratio, which was put out there by Hensler et al. In the 2015. With a funnel and lacquer and then a cross loading, they have been around for so many years. Okay, they all measure the same thing. So you can use one of them to determine that. If you are using the monotrait, heterotrait, you should get a minimum. Your ratio should be less than 0.9 or 0.85. So let's go to the matrix for the ATMT, yes. So as we can see from here, the relationship between political factors and economic factors is showing what? Red. Why? The ATMT is far above the above threshold, which is 0.9 or 0.85. So there is a problem that we need to check and resolve. And once again, it has something to do with the indicator variables, because some of the indicator variables are not good. The same thing, if you look at the relationship between economic factors and performance of small-scale businesses, is 1.030. It's above the threshold of 0.9. It should be 0.9 or less. or 0.8 or less. Anything less than that acceptable. So all the ones which are less than 0.85, you can see they are green.
Yes.
Yeah, so that has been established. If you want to use the funnel lacquer to the same. So funnel lacquer to the same. And then if you want to use the cross loadings to the same. The cross loading, any cross loading which is above 0.1, other studies say 0.1, other studies say 0.2 and above is acceptable. So they are also, you can use that also to establish. But currently, I will encourage you to use the ATMT if you want to establish your discriminant validity. Yeah, use this. Okay, I think, yeah, these are the basic things that you need to know as far as the measurement model is concerned. We have looked at that. Now let's come to the structural model. Let's come to the structural model. But before we come to the structural model, I just want to follow the results that we got and remove some of the indicator variables and see how the results will turn out to be. Okay, so I'm going back to my Excel sheet and I have highlighted that some of the variables need to be taken out. So under ECC, I need to take out the third and the fourth variable because they didn't meet the threshold. So where is ECC? So this is ECC. I need to take this one out. You delete this and you delete the 4 as well. Now let me come to the next one. Under the ELG, I have to take out the ELG4. ELG4. Under my political factors, POF, I need to take out the POF2. So I'm going to take off the POF2. That didn't meet the threshold. Then under the performance, that's the business performance indicators, I need to take out the performance number 3. Yes. Number 3 should be taken out. Then any other? Yes, under the technological factors, I need to take out the technological factors 2 and 3. 2 and 3 too also didn't need it.
Yeah.
So now I've taken out the ones that are quote unquote causing problems, causing issues for us. I've taken them out. Now let me run the model again and see how the results will look like. So you run and now everything is fine. We have all the indicators. There's none of them which is less than 0.7. What I can see from my screen. Now let's check whether everything is fine. So first I'll check the outer loading. So for my matrix, it shows that everything is fine. Everything is green. That means 100% I'm okay. My model is okay. Let me go to the construct validity. Okay, so the construct validity, it seems that our model is still has some issues, but normally the good thing is that if you are able to establish more than two, at least 2 of these constructs and reliability and validity, if you are able to establish 2 to be okay, then you can go ahead and run your analysis. So here the composite reliability and then the AVE are okay, but just that it seems that the internal consistency being measured by the Cronbach alpha and then the composite reliability are not good enough. Well, if I'm going to be very strict, to be honest, very strict, I'll take out the economic factors. Like if I'm going to be very strict, but to be liberal, I'm going to leave them and go by what has been recommended in literature that at least 2 or more should be okay for you to run the analysis. And then also I'll also consider taking out political factors as well.
Yeah.
Yes, but I want to leave them because I want to leave them and go ahead because they are AVE and then the composite reliability are okay. Now let me look at the.
Is that acceptable?
Yeah, it's acceptable.
Okay.
It's acceptable. At least 2. So 2. or more should be okay. The discriminant validity, the ATMT, yes. It seems we have issues with political factors and economic factors, and they are not surprising because from our construct reliability, we can see that the economic factors and the political factor, they have Cronbach alpha issue, which is internal consistency issue. They are internally not reliable in terms of the indicators that we use. Maybe there is a problem that maybe we have to go back and check or go and do some data cleaning or something. Yeah. But at this point, we can't do that. Let's leave it as it is. Okay, good. Now let's come back to the running of the second model of the PLS, which is the structural model. So the structural model, if you want to run that, what you have to do is that you have to go to the bootstrapping. You click on bootstrapping and you leave them as it is in terms of the default. You don't have to, unless there are certain recommendations or certain issues that you have seen, which will make you make some changes to them. Especially, for example, if you are looking at a model which is more of a one tail, if your regression, like how we do it with regression, if you want your test to be of just a one tail or two tail, so you can change that. And then the significance level, so you can change the significance level. We know that the common or the established or well-known significance level that we normally use for statistics is the 5%. If you want to change it to 1% or 10% or whatever percent, you can also change that here. Okay, but as we all know, 5% significance level, as we all know, is the one that is very common in literature. Okay, so you click on Start Calculate.
Excuse me.
Okay,
yes.
You can ask.
Yes. Is there a difference between the result on the slower and the faster, the most important faster and slower?
Yes, there is a difference. The difference is that, yes, there is a difference. The difference is that with the first one that I was explaining to you, they measure, as I explained to you, anytime you are analyzing your PLS SEM model, there are two models that you have to run. The two models are the measurement model and then the structural model. The aim of the structural model is to help you to look at the relationships between these indicators, the yellow colors, and then the blue colors. What's the relationship between them? The second one I have just run will help us to know the relationship between the latent, which is these lines, the latent variables, the relationship between the latent variables, one latent variable and another. So with the second model, which is a structural model, our concern is not looking at the relationship between the yellow rectangles or squares, and then the blue circles, but our concern is what is the relationships between one latent, which is the blue circle, and another blue circle. That is our focus. Okay, that is our focus. So there is a difference. With the first one, it's just the relationship between each of them. That's how come we're seeing that some of the latent variables and their indicators, their internal consistency was not good enough. For example, if you take the economic factors, their Cronbach alpha was very low. The political factors too, their Cronbach alpha was low, below the threshold. But what we are going to see here with respect to the second one I've just run is that it will help us to know the relationship between the exogenous, these are the exogenous, which we normally term them as the independent variables, and then the endogenous, which in this context is the dependent variable. So yes, so that's the difference. Please, is that okay? And then
Yeah.
I think Fred also.
Professor, can you analyze the structural model again?
Yes. So the structural model, you click on calculate and you select bootstrapping.
Okay.
Good, bootstrapping. So once again, as I mentioned, the bootstrapping, there's a default. They have already established this, and this is what everyone uses. But in
Yes.
case you want to make changes, you are allowed to make changes. For example, one of the changes that you can make, as I mentioned, is that if your significance level is, let's say, 1% or 10%, then you have to make changes to this. And also, if your test type is a one tail, not a two tail, you have to make changes to that. Yes, so you can move. And then also, yeah, I think, yeah, these are the basic ones. Yeah, so you just click on calculate and it will give you the results. Also, I mentioned to you last week that the structural model is also the same as like regression. It works just like a regression. Structural model. It works just like regression. So what we are going to see here is that once you run and you get this results, come here, come to the final results and click on the path coefficient. It will give you this. I guess you can see my screen. Good. So what can you see here? Here we can see t-statistics as we normally see when we run our regressions. And then we can see the p-values. So what is happening here is that the relationship, which is the relationship, I mean the relationship between the independent variables and dependent variables, is that some of them are significant, some of them are not. So for example, economic factors are significant based on the p-value.
Yes.
It's significant. But we can see the ecological factors are not. They are not significant. And then we can also see that legal factors are not significant. You know, even though they have some impact on them, but the impact is not that significant. Organizational factors, yes. Political factors, and then social, they are not. Technological, yes. So what can we conclude from here? So we can say that only three factors actually, based on this, we can conclude that 3 factors actually have impact.
Yes.
3 main factors have impact on the performance of the small scale businesses.
Yeah.
Please, is that okay? Any question that anybody wants? Yeah. So that's it. Yeah.
Yes, Professor. Sorry to take you back.
No,
If
you
we
can.
want to delete one of these variables, let's say the ones we deleted, how do we go about that?
Okay, if you want to delete, let's say you mean the indicator variable, right?
Yes, the indicators, yes.
So you click on it and you right click.
Okay.
Right click, you see the delete.
All right.
And if you want to rename it, you can do that.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Yes, Professor, good evening.
Yes, I will share. Yes. Good evening. Please.
Yeah, I just want to ask if we can also use this model for secondary data.
Secondary data.
Yes.
Yes, you can do that. Yes. So today when I began, I said that, I mentioned that because most of the SEM models, normally you see that people use questionnaire, but you can also use secondary data because I was just teaching somebody this afternoon using SEM where we're running control variables and all that. I'll be going there very soon.
Okay.
Mediation and mediating.
Because there was a time where I tried to upload data, secondary data, but it's not showing.
It did not work. Oh, okay. Yeah, okay, I get your point. I'll show you. Let me go back quickly. And yeah, I think let me go back and show you. So if you remember when we started, I showed you the data set. Trying to get where the data is. So the data set section, you can just make some changes. Let's try to, sorry.
Maybe you can just try to launch a new one.
Yeah, Yeah, so this is the data set. Good. So if you are, I think maybe the problem that you had to do with the kind of scale that you chose. Yeah, because where is the scales? The kind of scale that you chose. Okay, this has already been calculated. Let me launch a new one. I think that would be better.
Yes.
That will be easier and better for you to understand. So let's say PhD analysis. And so let's assume here you are uploading your data set. So the scale is important. So it's possible you have to check the scale. So if your some of your items are dummy and all that, because dummy variables and all that will come under categorical scale. So you need to check the data set, how it has been set up. For ordinal questionnaire data set is okay. For categorical, like maybe the names, the age, where you come from, your country, categorical scale will be okay. For metric, anything quantitative. So check. So each of the variables, check how the data set has been set. If you don't check how the data set has been set and you upload, it's possible it will not work, and you may have that challenge or that problem.
Well, maybe I don't know if because it's above 5, because like at first before uploading the data, I create an index. Then when I upload the data, the other ones that are 1 to 5, you'll see them uploading, but the indexed one that are maybe 13, 20 and all, I cannot upload them. It's showing just like something.
So the 1 to 5, I
Yes.
can say that the 1 to 5 is more of ordinal. So that's how come I said you have to check. So each of the variables, so for example, maybe let's say variable 1, which was, let's say, age, or something, any variable, whatever. It was about age. So if it was about age, you need to choose the right scale. And the one which was 1 to 5 is more of ordinal, I guess. It's more of ordinal. So you have to choose ordinal. All the data sets are not the same. The reason why in my case it is working is that all the data sets, I use the same scale to measure all of them. So it's easy for you to upload this and then the thing will just work. But where the scales are different, where some of the variables have measurement 1 to 5, others are like, as you mentioned, 13, 15, 20. It's like they are not the same. The measurements are not the same. So you need to check that. Yes.
So what to choose? I should choose them categorical if they are above
yes, you
5.
have to choose them one by one. So each of the variables, so for example, if you have about 20 variables, as you can see from here on the left-hand side, and maybe the first 2 are categorical, you have to choose categorical for each of them. So maybe ordinal for this, maybe the second one will be categorical or metric. The next one will be, let's say, categorical. You need to change the scale for each of the variable for it to work. Other than that, it will not work. If you just upload them thinking that they are all the same, having the same measurement, it will not work. Yes. So please check the measurement scale for each of them.
Doc, let me find out. So have you tried logging them, like creating a log for the data before? Maybe because I know if you create a log for log for the data, it gives you a bit of uniformity. Maybe you can try that.
Yes, you can also try that. Yeah, you are right. You can also try that. Just try that to see whether you can gain some uniformity across the data set. If that works, then it will work here. Then you don't need to worry yourself. Other than that, then you have to select each scale for each of the variables. Okay, that's good. Any other person who has a question, who want to ask something? Yes, please, Professor. You can go ahead. Yes, please go ahead.
I ask it. I written on the chat box. I say, how can we do if we have like mediator and moderator variables?
Yeah, that's where we are. That's where we are going to.
Okay.
So quickly,
Okay, thank you.
for the sake of time, it's good that we are doing this together. Yeah,
Okay,
so that
good.
we all get the understanding and all that. So the next thing, I think for now, everyone is okay. We have established the basic item. There are other things to look at, but for the sake of time, I don't want to really worry you because, for example, like you have to check the effect size, the relative performance in terms of how predictive it is, the predictive power and all that. And you can do that by just checking the left-hand side. You see R square and all that here on the left-hand side. You can just check. Let me run it again. So you can check your R square, adjusted R square, just like we know it's, or we know them from the regression, normal regression. Oh, I don't know why this, sorry. It's just problems. Yeah. Okay, so you can check your adjusted R square and then also no, I don't know whether there's some problem. Sorry about that. It seems there's something. This isn't. Okay, yeah. Yeah, so the R squares are showing. Yeah, you can actually, okay, anyway, you can, when you put a 10 even on the blue line or on the blue circle, it will tell you the R square, the adjusted R square, and even the AV and all that. It will just tell you. But normally, as we know from regression, we look at the R square and then the adjusted R square to help us to determine how these independent variables are explaining this dependent variable, right? So here we can see that it's very high. 0.875 is very high. Yeah, 0.8, getting closer to 1, which is very high. If you have an adjusted R square, which is around 0.875, that means even though some of them are insignificant, as we saw them from the path coefficient matrix table, but the factors, these things, yeah, it's true that they explain or they impact the performance of small businesses. Yeah, just like how we explain it when we run our normal regression. Yeah. Please, any question here? Okay, if there's no question, please let's come back to the mediate for the sake of time. Maybe I'll use the next 10 to 15.
I ask you a question.
Oh, there's a question. Yeah, okay, please. Is it possible to use secondary data? Is that the question? Oh, Fred, you can ask again. Sorry, I didn't get that.
When do you use 1 or 2 tail, right?
Yeah, sure.
Yes, the 1 or 2 tail, you can use it at any point in time, especially when you are dealing with a skewed hypothesis. When I say a skewed hypothesis, I mean where you know where exactly the results will go. In a situation where you don't really know where the results will go, whether it will be positive or negative, it is advisable that you use a two-tail. At least that's from what I know from statistics and the literature.
Yeah, indeed. Thank you so much. I wanted a clarification on that because I had discussed with some of my friends.
Yes, in a situation where you are dealing with...
If the hypothesis has a direction, then you do a one-tail test.
A one-tail, yes. If
the hypothesis has no direction, then you do a two-tail test.
The two-tail, yes. If you are sure of where you are going to or you want the results to go, then one-tail is the best.
Exactly.
But where you are not so sure and you are divided between, for example, if maybe I already hypothesized that all these factors have positive impact. I mean, I said that. Then in that case, I know where the results should go. So at the end of the day, if I don't get that, maybe they are going against what I said. In that case, one tail will be fine. But here, I hypothesize that they have effect. The effect, we don't really know the kind of effect. It could be a positive effect, it could be a negative effect. And actually, if you look at the results, you can see that I think some of the results showed, some of the results showed that some of even the variables, some of the independent variables had negative effects, or they have negative relationship. Yeah, if you take legal factors, for example, can you see the negative 0.037? And then social factors, that means they have an inverse. So some of them are positive, some of them are negative. So the effect here, it is clear that some of them will have positive impact on performance and some of them have negative impact on performance. But honestly, this is where you have to do a lot of explanation. Because in literature, we all know that when the favorable legal framework and environment for business to thrive, business do well. So if you are coming to tell us, or based on your results, you are saying they have a negative, favorable legal environment have negative impact on small businesses, then you have to really explain to us why. And then if you say social factors have a negative impact on the performance of small businesses, based on your results, you have to explain to us why. Yeah. So, and that will come to the session where you do the discussions of your results. So you have to really explain. And then, I mean, I don't have time to do that. I'm sorry, but maybe another time we'll do that. Okay, please. Yeah, so these are the basic things that you need to know. Let's come to the next two quickly so that we can round everything up and go. The next one I want to tackle is that I want to work on okay, so one good thing is that you can duplicate your analysis. Okay, so here I just want to assume that let me look for one of them which was good. Let me take this one out. This one out. We'll take social out. This variable out. So here, I'm just assuming that this one out. I'm just assuming that legal factors will definitely have impact on performance of small businesses. But I want to assume that organizational factors, it will only happen when organizations allow. Okay.
That is a mediator.
That's a mediator, good. So if that's a mediator, then this is how I'm going to draw it. So you click on connect, and then you pass it here, and then that's it. So you have your mediation. And I think many of you have also seen this a lot in literature or some of the papers that you have read. Great. Now let me run this and see how the results will go. So just the normal running, you check the two analysis, which is the measurements, to check whether they are okay. So you go to the outer loading, they are all fine. You check the construct reliability here, everything is 100% okay. Oh, that's good. That's good. Everything in this context is okay. But it doesn't mean you're always going to get this, please. I just want to emphasize on that. It's just the running. Okay, so everything as far as our measurement model is fine. Now let me go ahead to run the structural model using the bootstrapping. So next, I click on this, and the results is also saying that everything is okay. Yeah. Oh, okay. Except that the organizational factors don't have impact on small scale businesses based on our mediation. So our mediation is insignificant.
Huh?
Yeah, it's insignificant.
Yes.
Mediator
It is insignificant.
Yeah, but let's assume, I'm just assuming, but I want to just teach you something for the sake of time. I'm just assuming, even though it's insignificant, but I just want to teach you how to report this.
Okay.
Somebody there, will you hear? Yes, please, I'll share with the PPT with all of you. Yes, I'll share the PPT. Once I'm done, I'll send any other question. I try again and it not even give options to choose. Oh, okay. AKK, I'll share my email with you and I'll discuss further with you once we are done. Okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you. Yeah.
Thank you so much. Yeah. Please. So let's assume that you have this resource as your mediator. So how do you determine whether indeed the mediator is partial, is good enough, or is not good enough? Okay, so this is what you have to do. You can create an Excel sheet and then you check the type. So type of effect. So normally in mediation or mediator analysis, there are three effects that we normally look at. We look at the total effect, we look at the indirect effect, and then we look at the direct effect. Okay, so let's look at the total effect. And then we also look at the types of effects. And then we look at how the path coefficient that we got for each of them. And then we do some analysis with that. So these are statistics for this. And then we will just have some explanation. So what do you mean? Okay, so I'm going to do that. So the first one is, I'll term this one as the total effect. So the total effect, you look at it from the total effect of, in this context, the legal factors, because actually the relationship was between legal factors and performance, but we just use organizational factors as a mediator. Okay, so let's see L. Moving on to performance. So when you come to the results section, let's click on total effects. When you click on total effects, just look for the relationship between the legal and organizational factors. So the relationship between the legal and the legal factors and the performance, what is the sample mean? The sample mean is 0.389, right? So you put a 0.39. What is the T statistic? The T statistic is 0.088. Okay, in this context, is this significant? I think yes, we got because it is significant. Then you look at the second.
The T statistics is
the T statistic. The T statistic is the O, which is a coefficient.
Okay, the standard.
Yeah, divided by the standard deviation. This is a path coefficient divided by the standard deviation, which is the S. Any question that somebody asks? Okay, let me check. If we have control variable, how do we do? Okay, please, I'll come there. I'll come to the control variables also soon. Just I'll finish. Let me finish this one quickly and come to the control variables. The next effect that you have to look at is the indirect effect. So with respect to the indirect effect is where once again is the legal going through the organizational through to what the performance, right?
Yes.
So what is the results that we are getting for that is 0.093, 0.093, and then the T statistic is 1.4428. Is it significant in this context? It's not insignificant, but yeah, insignificant. But make sure when you run, yours become significant. Just this one is just for presentation purposes. Now, the last effect that we have to look at is the direct effect. So with the direct effect, use the path coefficient results, the path coefficient result, the direct effect. The direct effect. So once again, L going to the performance. And the coefficient here is 0.296. Statistic is 2.526. Is significant? Yes, it is.
Yes.
Okay, then the last computation that you have to do is what we call the variance accounted for. How do you get that? The variance accounted for, you just divide the indirect effect by the direct effect, the path coefficient of the indirect effect, which is the number 2, by the total effect, which is the number 1. Then you multiply by 100, which is 100%, sorry. If you run this and you get 100%, that means indeed the mediator is 100% or is perfectly significant. But if you run this and you don't get that and you get between 15%, which is the threshold, and let's say 99%, then what you have is what we call the partial. It's a partial mediator. Okay.
Professor, can you do it again, please? The bias.
If you do this computation, which is the indirect effect divided by the total effect. So the indirect effect path coefficient is 0.093 divided by the total effect, which is 0.389. Okay, you can just use this, or I just decided to multiply it by 100. It's the same, just to get a percentage. So we are getting 23.90%. And then the threshold is that anything 0.15, if it is 15% and less, then it's not a good mediator at all. You have to discard it and maybe work on it, work on your model, or work on your data. But if you get between 15% and 99%, then it's considered as a partial or moderate mediator. Is a partial mediator. Okay. Yeah. So please, you can do this once you run your mediator, in addition to all the other, the assessment model and all that, to explain this. And anybody who is looking at your work will get to know that you understand this. Any question on the mediation? But if, let's assume we run this and we got 100%, then it's perfect.
Full mediation. Full
Yes.
mediation.
Yeah, this is only for mediation. If you have a mediation or a mediator.
So we report that it is full mediation.
Yes, that means you have full mediation. That's 100%. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's full mediation, perfect mediation. But this is a partial, we are seeing a partial mediator. Okay, good. Please, that's all for the mediation or mediator. Let's go to a moderator and then control variable so that we can close. Yeah,
Okay.
For a moderator, once again, I'm going to use this same model. Okay, I'm going to use these same variables and models. Let's assume that in this case, we are looking at the relationship between organizational factors and small-scale performance, and our moderator, the moderating effect in this context, is the legal factors. So you click on connect, you take it here, and then you bring it here. So this is what you are going to see. You see that the line has changed, right? There's no more tick line.
The line is changed.
Yeah. Let's assume that I'm just trying to bring in another group of variables and see whether let me bring in maybe the social factors. Let me bring them in. Social. The social factors good enough, I guess. Okay. So let's assume this is also another factor. And I want to, once again, use the legal factors as also a moderating factor for the social factors. So this is how it's going to look like. Can you see that?
Yes.
So you have short dashes.
Why don't we use only one line to cross?
Okay, come again. Maybe I didn't get what you said. Why don't we use one line? Please.
Yeah, like one direction, like.
You mean cross both paths?
Yes.
Oh.
No.
It's not that. I think it's not that.
Well, yeah, because here the issue is that you are trying to, the relationship between the two. You are trying to look at a third force, which kind of moderates the relationship. Okay,
Yeah.
so if you take some of the social factors and the performance of the small businesses, we are assuming that the legal factors moderate their relationship between the two. And then organizational factors and performance of small businesses, the legal factors also moderate. But you can also have multiple moderators as well. Yeah, you can have multiple moderators. Yeah, but here I'm just using just this as an example. Okay, so what will happen? So the same thing as we saw from all the other things, you run your PLS, which is the measurement model, and then the bootstrapping. So here I'm not going to worry myself too much with the PLS, which will give us the measurement model. I'm just going straight to the bootstrapping, which will give us the regression kind of analysis. And let's see what the results will look like. So what are we seeing here? So here, what we are seeing is that it seems the moderators are not good enough because the moderators are reporting, the moderator is reporting in the one in the middle is reporting an insignificant p-value, and it's actually is even negative. Yeah, so maybe something must be done. But this is just this is just an example. It doesn't mean when you are using a data is always going to get this. And one thing about structural equation modeling is that anytime you are working on it, you need to keep on running the model and just fixing the indicators and checking them to come to a point where you think everything is okay, or you have met most of the thresholds which have been established in literature, and then you can say that I'm okay. Once you have not achieved the thresholds which have been established in literature, then your resource is not good enough. You need to either go back and look at your data set or consider taking some of the variables out of the analysis. Okay, the last thing is the question.
So how can we report this? Professor.
Okay, so with this, what you can say is that the moderator is insignificant.
Yeah.
The moderator is insignificant. In other words, without without the legal factors, still the social and organizational factors will have impact, will have the normal impact on the performance of small businesses. We don't really need legal factors to determine how social factors and organizational factors will influence the performance of small businesses. That's what it means, because it's insignificant. So in other words, they are not needed, they are not important. Without legal factors, without these legal factors, social and organizational factors will still have positive impact on the performance of small businesses. In other words, if I'm really bringing it to a normal, in a normal world sense, even in the world where let's say there are no legal there are no legal frameworks and rules and regulations, small businesses will still do well, quote unquote. That's what the model is saying, but actually that's not how things work in a normal world sense. Yeah. Is that okay?
Yes.
Okay, the last thing to run tonight, and we are out of here, is somebody asked a question. What about if I have
control variables?
Control variables. Okay, so here I'm going to, so normally control variables impact on our dependent variable, right? Okay, so I'm just going to say that let's assume ecological factors. Yes, I'm just looking for some of the factors they use. So let's assume that the political factors are our control variable one. And then maybe economic factors, maybe two of them. So, okay, so control variable would be two. So what do you do? So all that you have to do is just connect them. So don't forget, control variables are just independent variables. They are not really any special kind of variables, as we know them. They are because when you put together, or when you put out your regression model or equation, control variables also come to the side where the independent variables are. Oh, that's not what we do. Yeah, so they are just like independent variables that affects our model, our dependent variable. Okay, so I'll go straight and run this and check. So let me check the control variables, how they went. So the first control variable, yes, is significant. The second control variable is also significant. Yeah, so yeah, that's it. The second control variable truly has a significant impact on SB performance, with the small scale business performance. And then the control variable 2 also has significant impact or effects on it. So that's how you work with the control variables. So control variables are just normal independent variables. They are part of the independent variables. Yes, so we just put them there, but you just try to distinguish them and let us know whether they are control variables or not. Yeah, so that's all that you have to do. Okay, good. I think that is all that I have for you today. Any question that anybody has? Yeah, and then I know sometimes you see some complex results and all that, but they are the same. Okay, yeah, okay, good. And then yes,
I think
the conference that is coming up. You have a question? Okay, yeah, please go
Yes,
ahead.
one last question, please. About the mediating variable, when you match the relationship between the mediating and the independent. We call it indirect effect, right? Or
The
and
relationship
yes, the
between
mediating variable and the independent variable. We call it indirect effect. And the moderating and the independent is interaction between moderating and independent. Is that, or am I wrong?
for the moderating, we don't have direct and indirect effects. The reason being that we don't consider the moderator as a latent variable on its own, but rather is a variable that is having some level of impact on the relationship that between one independent variable and then another dependent variable. So it's not a latent variable on its own. So normally we don't measure or we don't look at whether there is a direct or indirect. It's hard to measure the direct and indirect when it comes to the moderating effect. But when it comes to the mediating effect, it's easy to measure the direct and indirect. Why? Because the mediator in that relationship tends to stand on its own as another latent variable or another independent variable, which we can match and get to. Maybe you move from here, there, and then you get there. But that's not how the moderating factor or variable work. Okay, another question that somebody wants to ask is, do we need to draw the same independently for each variable's mediator and all that? No, what I have shown to you, no, you don't have to, especially when you are dealing with complex model.
Yeah.
The reason why I decided to separate them today is because of, like, for the sake of this lecture. But in most studies and articles, you see that they are together. You see moderating and this thing all complex. Yes, so AKK, you can do all of them together. I think that's Biru or AKK, one of you asked that question. You can do all, you can do the moderating, mediating, and complex things together for the sake of time. That's why I decided to just refrain from that and just do these things separately so that you can get the understanding. Yes, but you can do all moderating, mediating, and control variables, everything together at the same time, and it will work. Yes, thank you. Please, the link for the conference has been shared. Yes. And then my email address, let me share my email address. Anyway, my email address is at the end of this thing, but I can also share quickly. Any question whilst I'm sharing my email address? Yeah, I wanted to show you some 1 or 2 papers, but I think the time is fast spent. So I think you can do it yourself. I have these papers here, so when you get opportunity, please just let me put them in the chat box.
Yes, just one last question.
Yes.
I see that you use the last version of SEM-PLS. Is there any difference when you install the, for instance, 4.0.9 version, or there is any difference between the version?
Okay, let me go back. Which one, please? This one?
Yes, like, because I see that you use the V for 1411110.
110. This one?
Yes, the
We're talking
version.
about
Yes, the version of
the software, the smart PLS
the
software.
software.
Ah, okay, okay. Yes. This is smart 4. Yes, the 4 means this is the app. They start from 1, I think 1 or 2, PLS 1 or 2 or so. They have upgraded it. So currently, that is what is in the market. The PLS 4.110 is the current upgrade, which I think they upgraded this year just 2 days ago or 3 days ago or so. Yesterday. This was released just yesterday.
Okay, you wanted to know
Okay.
whether there are any
Thank
difference when you run the analysis.
No, there's no difference.
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
There's no
Okay,
difference.
thank you, bro.
It's just like having your iPhone or Samsung and they decide to give you an update or upgrade, the software upgrade. It's just the same, but everything is the same. And I mean, maybe some few things that they have changed. They have made it faster or something, but everything is the same. No difference, actually. Yeah. Yes, I'll share the PPT with the Presido, and then Samuel will just get them for all of you. Thank you very much for coming. In fact, I appreciate everything. Sami, I think over to you at this point if no one has a question.
Okay, I think we've done quite a good job, and Prof, we want to show our appreciation to you for coming to share this great knowledge with us. And we hope that, I mean, this relationship will continue. And since you've shared your email, I will encourage all of you to contact him. I mean, if you have any challenge, you contact him. Now we take him as our senior brother in research, and we contact him. If you have any challenge with your thesis or whatever advice, and you can just email him, and I'm sure he will diligently deal with that.
Oh, yes. Oh, yes.
Yeah.
And also, I want to add to what Samuel just said. I will encourage each and everyone to don't end here. Don't end what we have done today here. Do your best to apply this to any data set or something that you have. You just, even if you are not writing a paper out of it, just work around it. Because one of the things I've also come to notice is that sometimes when you learn some of these things and you don't use them, you tend to forget. Yeah. So do your best to just do some calculations, and it's easy. And the good news also is that there are so many videos that people have also put together on YouTube. So there are sections. Some of the YouTube videos, they take just section by section, little by little. What I have done is a full lecture, but for them, they break them into pieces like 1 minute, 2 minutes, and all that.
So that they can get a view anyways.
They can
Like
get a light.
proper business.
Yes.
Yeah, thank you so much. Yeah,
thank you, Prof. So we are grateful, and I know we're going to do something again before we meet in July. So we'll have the discussion and probably do something. I know you are good with other softwares as well. So we will
I'm good at other softwares as well.
So we'll come back to you again, and hopefully we'll see you in July as well. I think the program is in Macau. Which is how do you call it?
Is it far from where you are?
Oh, it's considered as part of China anyway. Just that not too far. I mean, China is big, but still, I mean, if we'll be able to meet you there. July.
But two things. Maybe what I would do is that once the visa is approved, wherever you guys are, I can also come there, because normally
we understand.
That will also be, that can also be done. Yeah.
Sure.
I also consider that and add it to my itinerary, so that when the time is due.
Actually, we'll plan something around that. I think the academic committee will discuss and plan something around that time, so that we can have something with you again. But before then, we'll still have something with you again before the July, because the feedback has been wonderful. I mean, the way you take your time to explain and the way you take your time to, respond to every query is really recommended, and we are very
thank you so much.
Guys. So I don't know whether anybody has something else to say. Fred, Biru, Henny, anybody has something else to say?
Yes. I want to say, please. Yeah, I really appreciate Dr. Isaac. Really, having you within us is really a good opportunity for us to learn and to see how we need to focus on these softwares to conduct our research, or not only even for our graduation and for our future academic career. This focusing on this software is very, very, very important, and you helped us a lot, Dr. Isaac. Really, I really appreciate you. I really thank you for giving us this wonderful opportunity to training us, to give this training, a wonderful training, clear training and practical training. So you are really, really, really friendly, and you taught us very much. We are so much excited. We are so much benefited from you. So I really appreciate you. I thank you for your really most valuable time. And really, I also thank our leaders, Sami and Fred and Ronald and others, and for facilitating this training session for us. So I really encourage and thank Dr. Isaac and our leaders as well. Thank you so much. We will be in touch together. We will work together. I hope we will work together to bring something very important, important not only for individual, for our continent, Africa as well. So thank you so much.
You're welcome. You're welcome. Thank you so much. Okay,
Thank
so
you.
yeah,
Thank you.
you're
Since you mentioned Africa, that is why it is good to have a Ghanaian friend. Yeah.
Yes.
With the Ghanaian, I have to
Yes.
emphasize that.
Perfect. Perfect. Perfect.
Okay, then, guys.
All right. All right. Good night.
All right. Thank you,
All
Prof.
right, guys. So I will share the video, guys, with you later.
Yes. Okay.
you,
I also send the PPT because I
PPT,
made
yes, so
some
that I'll
changes,
forward it to our group and
so that we forward it to
Yeah,
them.
please.
Yeah. Okay. Then.
thank you very much, guys. See
Thank you
later.
very much, Prof.
All
Thank
right,
you,
thank you.
Sami.
All right,
Thank you,
bye.
Prof.